From Santa Barbara, California, the Timeless Voyager series, where the knowledge is timeless and you are the Voyager. Interviews with leading-edge authors and speakers, psychic phenomena and the unexplained, UFOs, extraterrestrial encounters, government cover-ups, alternative healthcare, new technologies. Fasten your cosmic seatbelts and join me, your host, Bruce Stephen Holmes, the Timeless Voyager.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Bruce Stephen Holmes for Timeless Voyager Radio, and joining us today, Reverend Elizabeth Anilda. She is a channel for the Ascended Masters and Archangels. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Bruce.
Reverend, why don't you explain to our listeners how you got the term or title Reverend?
Well, I didn't know that I was going to be in this work, but after I was in it for quite a while, I thought that I should go ahead. I had the opportunity from two sources to become ordained. And that was just at the time we were getting ready to move to Santa Barbara, or thinking about it. This was back in 1969. So I did become ordained in the Universal Church of the Master while living in Santa Barbara, because there was an opportunity to have some property here in Santa Barbara. This didn't work out, by the way, but the opportunity was there, and we had to be a separate identity. So we went ahead and formed a Joy Foundation, which is...
So you have a nonprofit organization called the Joy Foundation, which does what?
Does the same thing I was doing before.
Propagates this information.
Yes.
This information. All right. Let's just go back then to perhaps somewhere around the beginning. You told me once that as long as you can remember, you spoke to guides or spirits or angels. I
spoke to Mother Mary from the time I could speak, and also to my guardian angel. And I felt so pressed for time when I was preschool, because I felt like I had so much to do, and that I was supposed to be writing and teaching and so forth. And I complained to Mother Mary all the time, that saying that my mother was holding me back. She wasn't starting to school, and I was ready to go. But of course, you know, when you do get started into school, and in your association with other people and events, you do get away from your course. And I really didn't get back onto it until I was, say, in my 30s.
So there was actually kind of like a little break there for a while where you were not really...
Well, I didn't feel... I was always in touch, but I didn't feel this motivation to do anything about it except ask for help and say my prayers.
So, would you say that for a period of time you were just, too busy, or life was kind of
too busy? When you're working every day and you're young and you want to have fun and go places and dance and so forth.
You can't dance,
yes.
Huh? All right. Well, anyway, are you the president of the Joy Foundation?
Yes.
Okay.
That was founded in 1977.
Now, you specifically have a lot of contact with Orion. Why don't you tell our listeners about Orion?
Well, Orion was the first person, or being, I should say, who channeled through me. And he told me that I had come from Orion, and that we had a past history together there, as well as in the Valley of the Kings. And he wished to take me back to that consciousness of long ago, the type of consciousness that was present in, say, the forming of the pyramids and the type of thing at that time when the land was new. One of the things he said that was interesting is that this was in 1966. He said there were 5 known planets in their solar system, and they were 1,200 light years away. Actually, and that there would be 2 new stars that would be seen within a few years. Now, in 1974, my husband cut this out of the paper for me. they spotted a new cluster of stars in the nebula of Orion. And in this article, it
now,
says,
there are people who refer to that as Orion.
but he said that's incorrect.
That's wrong. Okay, he says that Orion is wrong.
Orion.
Orion is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he should know his name.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was interesting because I met, we went back east and lived there for a few years, and I met Jim Hurtak.
James Hurtak, the
Yes.
Keys of Enoch man.
Yes.
What a book.
It's wonderful if you can understand it.
For those of you who are interested, The Keys of Enoch is one of those books that if you can get through the first 10 pages, you probably can get through the book.
Well, his name was, my name was given to him, and he called me, and we got talking on the phone, and I mentioned something about Orion. He said, "Oh, you have the key. Can you join us for dinner tonight?"
Because you said his name correctly.
Right.
All right.
So, anyway, I thought that was interesting that did come up, and that they did discover these other new stars there.
All right. Now, he was your first channeling. What category is Orion in then?
He would be a creator god.
Okay.
And while I was back east, I also tuned into a time to where
Now, of course, this is going to make Christians start shifting in their seats.
Well...
Well, no, because
Yes.
then that's okay. I mean, a lot of them shift in their seats and when they listen to this show anyway. But the question is because a lot of people would like to understand it too. Mm-hmm. This doesn't in any way lessen the concept of the one God, but
No.
rather that these are attributes of the one God.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. These are workers under the one God.
Okay.
Just as our sun is not the only sun. I mean, we have a central sun, and our sun is only a small portion of that sun.
So the sun that is our sun in our particular universe, not universe, our solar system, is a sun, but it is not the central sun.
No. And in fact, our solar system and several others are believed to be part of the Pleiades, and the center of the Pleiades being Alcyone. That would be our central sun. And that we are supposedly, say, in the seventh circle or radius out from that.
Okay.
And we are still greatly influenced by the Pleiades. And in fact, many years ago, Lord Jesus told me that he brought thousands of souls with him to this planet from the Pleiades. But now that is not the only place that we've been. We have been to Orion. We have been to...
now, why would we be in these... Why?
Because we are developing in consciousness.
So we're kind of like...
We're children of God, learning and growing and aspiring to...
So it's a mistake to think that we have only been on the Earth.
True.
We're actually moving through the universe as
Yes.
what? Children of...
the cosmos.
Migrating...
Migrating souls. Yes.
So the souls migrate around. They just don't
Yes.
hang around the Earth plane.
No.
Now, well, I use the word Earth plane. Now, the Earth plane does not really refer to this Earth, though, does it? Or does it?
Well, say the planet Earth, because I imagine every planet has different planes on it. And from the communication I've had from different beings in different parts of the solar system, that seems to be true.
So now, our astral plane, for example, is that located, in our plane? Does the astral plane, for example, have Pleiadian souls in it? In other words, does it extend out into the universe, or does I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Well,
does the astral plane belong strictly to our Earth plane? Are there many different astral planes? There's the question. Are there many different astral planes?
I don't know.
Good. All right, great. After all that, we don't know the answer.
But the one thing that brings a point up here, and that is everything that we are told, everything that we have in our physical vehicle, like we have an astral body. The Earth has the same, our planet has the same thing. We have an aura. The planet has an aura. We have a ring past knot. We have an atmosphere. We have everything that the Earth has.
A ring. What did you say that was? A
ring past knot. This is where actually the
past
sun,
knot. In other words, you cannot pass.
Right.
Past not means that there is a place to where you stop?
Yes.
And you can't go past that?
Well, as far as our planet is concerned, with the sun giving us light to our planet, the sun actually is not hot.
Okay.
And so it hits our atmosphere, and because of the chemical changes there, then it comes in as heat to us. And this would be true of our energy patterns that we express. When we think of astral, we're thinking of, say, the lower planes.
Okay.
And
matter of fact, we had that little chart there that I had shown you, and it's an interesting chart. Maybe you could just give it to me for a second, and I will do a little description here for
all
those.
right.
Incidentally, you are a conscious channel?
Yes, I don't believe in allowing
Okay, so you're not
anyone.
a trance channel. Okay.
No. And an interesting thing there, too, is that I'm not only a conscious channel to where a being can be right with me and channeled through me, and I can stop at any time because they have not taken over, and I don't believe in that. But also, I'm a telepathic channel, and I can tell the difference to where that being is not there. It hasn't, I don't feel the presence around me, but I am being, through telepathy, I am receiving the message at that time. For instance, on Easter Day, Lord Jesus is giving a message throughout the whole planet because of his ability to do that.
And then, of course, he has many, let's call them oracles.
Yes.
Okay. People who receive this information.
Yes. And so telepathically, he is broadcasting that message, and you're picking it up if you rise to that consciousness.
So basically what we're looking at then is this. Lord Jesus is kind of like the station in the sky.
Yes.
And the oracles, or the people who telepathically pick up his information, are like the radios that are broadcasting the information.
You tune into that frequency.
Okay.
That's the same with our physical vehicles.
So on any particular day, you may have thousands of channels saying exactly the same thing.
True. And that is so interesting how that happens. That brings me to a point of, in the decree book that I've written that we use in relation to the rays, there are a few things in there that someone said that they had read 20 years ago in the I Am teachings.
So we're going to talk about rays in a few minutes, but let's come back to this. All right, so this comes from, actually, this is a quote, I believe, from Lord Jesus. In my Father's house there are many mansions.
Yes.
Okay, so now the understanding of that quote is the interpretation of the levels of life of consciousness. All right, and so this is a little chart. I wish I had a video here you could see this, but the interesting point here is there's a question that says, what is the purpose of life? And everybody's heard that one, so here's a little thing. It says, continuing mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. There's your answer, folks. So from now on, if you decide, somebody asks you what is the purpose of life, you can just say, continuing mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. All right, great answer. Okay, so we have here on this chart, if you can visualize this for a second, 10 bands around the Earth. And then they have particular names. For example, the first one is called the Earth, or the physical plane. That's where we are living.
Yes.
Three-dimensionality. Okay. Then the second band, I guess, occurs. This is where a person would somewhat go during their death transition. Or they may go there, they may not.
Yes.
But this is the second band, is the lowest astral planes. And do you want to comment, or should I just go? Maybe I'll just go through these first, and then we'll come back. All right. So there's the lowest astral planes, then there's the intermediate astral planes, the highest astral planes, then comes the mental and causal planes, the celestial planes, then we're out at the 7th degree, the cosmic or universal sphere of at one meant the Godhead. It's the last plane in our solar system. And incidentally, this is moving into the cosmic planes. Then there's the 8th one, which is the end of manifest creation, or I guess there's no vibratory creation. The 9th plane is the void or pure consciousness, which is non-vibratory. Mm-hmm. And then the 10th one is nirvana and other states of consciousness. So we find that we come to a void, pure consciousness or transcendental reality, mm-hmm. and then after that, there's an opening up of a whole new story, I guess.
Right,
okay.
Yes. You move into a whole new experience.
Okay, so let's go back and maybe you could make some comments.
Well, I wanted to comment
Sure.
on that first, the lower astral plane. An interesting thing happened in my counseling with people, and I didn't know what it meant at first, but I would see a lower astral plane, and I would see a person swimming, say, between two layers within the earth, just in dark water. And I found that was always associated with someone who had taken their own life, caught in that, and that they needed a great deal of help. They needed a great opening of light. And that's why it's so important to pray for a person who is so involved with their own problems or their disasters that they are burdened to the point that they cannot even think to pray for themselves.
Okay, well, here's an interesting thing. Okay, so the lowest astral plane, it says this dark, dismal, dangerous, and often frightening world, mm-hmm. which the Bible describes as outer darkness, weeping, wailing, and the gnashing of teeth. This is what they mm-hmm. It's the fierce bodily desires and lusts. They may be drug addicts, sex perverts, yes. alcoholics, murderers, suicidal. That's mm-hmm. a great group of people, huh? Mm-hmm. Traditionally referred to as hell or purgatory, it is the human and non-human astral bodies on this plane that attach themselves to the magnetic auras or astral bodies of persons living on the earth plane.
That's why
an act of obsession, such as possessed, a person may act abnormally, be judged insane, mm-hmm. institutionalized, or commits suicide. So this is the area that you don't want to play around with.
You don't want to play around with that at all. The only thing you can do, there are angels of light who will work on that plane if you ask for them to. But as with all of it, and I forget to do this myself, we have to ask. Mm-hmm. No one is allowed to interfere.
Okay, so now we come to the intermediate astral plane. Okay, here the person awakens minutes or days after departing. So this is where a person kind of like becomes aware of the fact that they're dead, mm-hmm. or that they don't have a physical body. This is the rest and rehabilitation region. The body is still material of a finer substance or a high vibratory rate, so that does have some appearance. Communication is by thought. Mm-hmm. Each person is encouraged to continue mental and spiritual growth, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the intermediate astral plane. So we would find most people are in that area if they're not.
Yes, and you'll find that for several days that they will be around finishing up business. Okay. They will appear to people, and the communication with them is usually quite good.
Okay, now we move into the highest astral planes. And of course, this is a very
I know. It's
cut and dry.
It's
this doesn't
broad.
Really exist, but we're just getting an understanding. All right, this, I guess, is the wonderful realm of existence, generally what the Christian calls heaven. An apt term might be the Summerland, no pain or suffering, happy meetings with those of whom bond and love, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the soul has to decide whether to return to Earth for more experience or accept the second death. I had never heard of that. Do you? Well,
there's more than one. There's a second death and there's other deaths, but this means death to different things.
Okay.
But I have had the experience of communication in knowing that people are taken to like hospitals. They're helped with light energies. They're given an opportunity to study and rest.
Okay, so people who have, let's use a coarse term here, have destroyed themselves
yes,
during their physical existence.
By eating, drinking, or bad, thought patterns.
Okay, can go and be rehabilitated.
Yes.
All right. Mm-hmm. What else happens on this highest astral plane? I asked you where the ascended masters were according to your understanding.
Well, now hierarchy, would be we would be thinking about a third plane, but they're coming in more now. they're coming closer to us. In fact, there are many more thousands of angels walking along the earth plane than there have been for I don't know how many millions of years.
So we have lots of incarnate.
We're getting a lot of help.
Are these angels incarnating in
the physical too?
I mean, are they incarnating by being born, or are they just appearing?
Yes, some of them are.
And some are just appearing physical.
Well, some. I mean, I see them, but I've always seen them.
Okay.
You know,
we're getting a lot of walk-ins.
Yeah. An interesting thing happened this past year in that the Spirit said, "You will be seeing an angel, be meeting with an angel in 4 days." Of course, this is an angel telling me this, and I said, "Well, but I see angels all the time," and they said, "This angel is in the physical." 4 days later, I did meet a woman that had come to me for a consultation when I lived in the East. She flew down from, someone had given her my name, and she flew down from Washington, D.C. to North Carolina. And this was, say, 1981, perhaps. She was here from the Philippines. And we had a wonderful rapport. She was telling me about the shrines that they have built there, and the wonderful healing that has taken place with the waters. And she has started, I think it's 14 Montessori schools in the Philippines. She's a wonderful person, and she's also a writer. She writes a weekly column. That was my angel.
All right, so you don't know who you're talking to, do you?
No.
Okay, the next realm... Okay, out of the astral. So, and now, of course, they don't say ethereal around here. I don't know why they didn't use the term ethereal, but they say the mental and the causal planes. What is your understanding of the mental and causal planes? Do you have one? I can read what it says here.
All right, read it.
Well, it says, levels which offer unlimited scope for the further development of the individual mind and soul.
Well, these are levels we're supposed to be reaching to by our daily practice of meditation contemplation.
Right. There's no jealousy, no judgment, complete brotherhood, no selfishness. It almost sounds like this is where we would find some of those higher beings.
That's true. That's where we find our higher self.
Most of man's inventions, scientific advances, poetry, inspired prose, art, and music originate here and are passed down to receptive minds on the earth plane through the process called intuition. For this and other reasons, the intelligence on this level cause much of what happens on the lower planes. Final opportunity to return to the earth plane for more earth life experience or growth, or if all factors are favorable, then comes the final rebirth onto the celestial planes, which is the next step. The celestial planes, they say, the nature of these planes of consciousness, as well as those higher galactic, universal, and cosmic levels, 7, 8, 9, 10, are largely beyond the comprehension of persons now living. The celestial planes are the location of the Christian God, Buddha, all the gods of other religions on the earth plane, biblically referred to as the third heaven.
Well, but we can reach a Buddhized state in the second heaven. I mean, this is, we do this in the physical body.
Yeah.
And this has a lot to do with the balancing of the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Now, one of the positives of the left hemisphere is that this is where the little cherubim angels come in.
The cherubim and the seraphim.
Well, no, the cherubim.
Okay, now what is this? Great. Cherubim are...
They are associated with order, with poetry.
Okay.
I've had wonderful experiences with them. Seraphim are the very tall angels. In fact, the seraphim always accompanied Orion whenever I saw him, and he channeled through me. There would be a whole band, and they'd be all in colors. And
we're gonna talk about color, folks. Don't worry. We're developing a kind of a nice little background here, though.
They were all in color, and he said, we move in rhythm and sound. And that is why rhythm and sound are so important. See, I didn't know I was going to be writing all of these with sound and rhythm. That whole book.
That's right. We're going to talk
150. About that book. But he was, this made sense to me, movement and sound. And he said we glide on waves of sound waves. You
have what are called full moon meditation groups or ceremony, and it's very interesting. You also have autumnal equinox. Is that the right word? vernal.
The two equinoxes and the two solstices,
right.
Because those are the really high energy points of the year.
And I'm going to touch on those too. Okay, and then just to finish this chart out for those of you who are interested, because I think this was a nice building point.
Mm-hmm.
We came with cosmic or universal sphere. That's that area of the Godhead. The next one was the end of manifest creation. The 9th one was the void or pure consciousness. And then the 10th one was like a new area of other consciousnesses and nirvana, which is, I guess, way beyond the human experience. How did we find out about this?
Well, we keep trying. We keep trying to grow is the only answer.
Okay, the higher worlds of spirit, they call it.
Right. You know, you don't take calculus unless you at least take an addition.
Okay, so Orion would be, what do you think, in the celestial plane?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So
the seraphim angels are very, very high. The cherubim come in a lot. They're a lot of fun, too, because they're very humorous. You probably have them working with you all the time with your music. No, and you have a sense of humor.
Sure, I mean, all around me. But do they have names?
They would channel through me. In fact, I have some music in my book. You know, I taped it and then wrote the notes out and put it in there.
I like your book. We're going to talk about your book, and incidentally, for those of you who may want to purchase the book, you'll find it in my catalog. Is that okay?
Yes.
She didn't know I was going to say that.
Uh-huh.
And I'll tell you a little bit about the book. We'll talk a little bit about it. It's a very different book, and just maybe it's a good time to maybe just quickly talk about why are the pages in your book in different colors?
Because they're associated with different rates of energy.
Great. So these are actually the rays
we have that we work with.
Right.
If we would see them, we would see that color. And one, we keep jumping around, but
well, that's all right. This is we have to jump around because this is an introduction to all the information that you are about, which is not well known and understood.
Well, I was noticing that deep pink in there and reminded me of Pluto. I have had wonderful experiences with Pluto the last few years in particular. That's another story.
We just can't get too far with this. Okay, the seraphim, are they bigger than the archangels? Or what does bigger mean here?
Well, the seraphim, they're very tall, slender, and they will be in different colors. They could be white, though, as well. And the...
well, when you say different colors, I mean, are they like blue?
Oh, yes. You know, all the
they
colors that you'd see in that decree book. Oh, no, they're represented with very fair skin. And
they're high energy, though. They're not three-dimensional like us.
They're very ethereal looking. You know, willowy, wispy, tall. And they have 6 wings. Right?
6. All right, here we go.
6
Beautiful.
Wings.
They have 6 wings. Now, 6 wings. What do they need? First of all, they don't need wings, do they?
No. These
what are the wings for?
Well, we see these as wings, but they are radiations, spiritual radiations from them that appear to us as wings.
All right. Now, they have 6, though. Uh-huh. I don't get it.
It's their place in their development. I guess it allows them
want angels
to move through the different
We want
spheres.
Angels to have 2 wings. We don't want them to have 6.
Well,
where would the other 4 be? Or do we even know where the other 2 are?
They're 3 on each side.
3 wings on each side. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I have seen... Now, there will be an angel, say, on one side of a person. You don't always see this, but there'll be like 2 angels to a person. There'll be...
are these a person's own guides, let's say?
Yes. Okay. There is like the celestial guardian angel, and then there's the warrior angel.
Does an angel... This is not a silly question, but it's a question. Can an angel lose their wings? I mean, in other words, can they... Like a fallen angel.
A fallen angel? Well, I imagine they'd have to gain something again to be able to rise to these different levels. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got to move into this, otherwise we're never going to get to it. Let's talk about the rays.
All right.
Okay, what are the rays, and why do we need to know about them?
Well, the rays...
Do you need this book at all, or do you want...
No, that's fine. One of the things that I want to mention to start with here is that we are at the point here on Earth of developing a galaxy consciousness. And it's very, very timely. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak about this now because of the fast pace. See, we are not even having 60 minutes to an hour through this.
Now, we hear this all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we're having, let's see, what did they give me?
So not only has money gotten less, so has time.
So has time speeded up because time was just given to us as a gift for us to have this experience that we wanted to come here. Mm-hmm. This was our decision.
This is what people forget, isn't it?
Yes.
People forget that
And they complain, we complain.
People forget how hard it was for them to get in, incidentally.
Yes.
It's almost like standing in line at the movie theater
true.
And being very thankful that you got the last seat.
And it's going to be more difficult than that as we come into this next age because there will not be that many people on Earth to allow souls to come in through embodiment. All right, going back to the rays. The rays are directed to us from what we call Lords of the Rays, Chohans of the Rays. But initially, they come from the constellations. They will come to to say the Great Bear. They'll be stepped down. They're coming to us from Orion, and they come in at different times of the years for different purposes. There's a reason for the 12 signs of the zodiac because those describe the type of energy that we are given, the extra energy of that type that we're given to work to advance ourselves in understanding.
So each sign of the zodiac is, in a sense, a energy, a vibratory level or vibratory energy that comes through and works on us so that we can work on that particular part of our, development? Or?
Yes, it's like 12 gates, and each month another gate opens.
Can I interrupt, or could we talk about your ray chart? You have a ray chart in your book. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. At the top it says the rays. We've got the color of the rays: blue, pink, yellow, white, green, ruby, gold, and violet. Mm-hmm. All right, these are 7 rays. The next one down, though, is the word Elohim. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the term Elohim.
Well, Elohim, or it's pronounced differently.
Well,
but these go back to the creator gods again.
Okay. So you have here it appears to be the male and female aspect of the Elohim.
Mm-hmm. All right. And like we have of ourselves.
All right. So you've got under the blue ray, Hercules and Amazonia. Mm-hmm. Who are they?
These are great beings, and
so Hercules was not just some fictitious figure from the Greek mythology.
No, none of these were.
They were Greek? All. I think it's Greek.
Greek.
Or, well, anyway.
These great beings did live on the earth. This goes back to, say, the end of Lemurian times and Atlantis.
Okay, continuing down. Under the blue ray, what this appears is that we've got then 2 archangels. Or no, 1 archangel and 1, belief?
Well,
you have Michael and you have Faith.
Faith would be a feminine aspect assisting.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so Michael is the male aspect.
Right,
and Faith
Lord Michael, actually, he is very, very, very high. He is, he's up on a level with the Christ.
And we see him with his blue flaming sword.
Yes, and he's in charge of all of the angelic activity. Now, this time of the year this season is St. Michael's season predominantly. And you'll notice that because the Christ Spirit touches the earth at the autumn equinox. And so Michael is cleansing, and his angels, his workers, are cleansing to clear the earth. You'll notice at this time of the year it's always more clear than other times. And then the Christ Spirit starts to move from the periphery of the earth into the core of the earth, which is pure golden light. And that point is reached at the winter solstice. and that is the birth of the child. This is the light going into the center, and then it starts to move on out again.
Okay, now this next word, is that Chohan?
Chohan.
What is that?
That means Lord.
Okay. El Moira.
El Moria. He is in charge of that particular energy of the will of God.
All right, so we're still under blue, though.
Yes.
The blue flame. Then we come to the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it rules the throat chakra. All of the chakras moving on up from the base of the spine, like the base of the spine, water, the second chakra, earth, the second chakra, water, the third chakra, fire, the fourth chakra, air. From there on up, it's ethereal. It's at the throat is where we start to move on up, clearing the throat, using the spoken word like we do, in voicing our, and using the opportunity to voice what we are thinking, to bring that into manifestation, because we're on the road to manifesting that which we say. So we have to also be very careful in our choice of words.
Okay, then you refer to the thyroid as the gland that is ruling, I guess, that part of our physiology.
Right.
The sense of hearing.
We're also developing a newer gland here. We're also developing a gland.
Well, let's not get too confusing here,
okay.
But I understand what you're saying. The weekday, Tuesday.
Tuesday. You notice that is the day that most people have business meetings, Tuesday night. It's a very busy day.
Well, here we are meeting on a Tuesday. And
true.
The tone.
The tone. Now, I advocate for clearing all these chakras. You see, as we give these decrees out loud and visualize what we're saying, for those who cannot recall all the tones, give the Om. But there is a tone associated with each chakra. And
well, I have them right here if you want.
Hum.
Right.
So after you would say, give the prayer in relation to the will of God, then you would give, it's a but you take the inside, feel it vibrating within your body and breaking up the crystallizations there.
Okay, so anyway, to review this particular ray chart, now, of course, there's a ray for each one of these. We were doing the blue ray, and just to review then on the left side here, if you can imagine this as a column, and it says we have color going across, the Elohim going across, Archangel, Chohan, chakra, gland, sense, weekday, and the tone. So under the blue ray, we had the blue color, Hercules and Amazonia, Michael and Faith under the Archangel, under the Chohan, El Moria, under the chakra of the throat, the gland was thyroid, the sense is hearing, the weekday is Tuesday, and the tone is hum. All right. And then we have that for each of the rays.
Right.
I realize we spent a lot of time on blue, and I know you'd like to talk about pink, and I know that you definitely want to speak about the secret rays, but is there we can't go over all of this.
No, you can't.
But
and,
what would you like to...
I'd like to touch on the planets that are having such a great effect on the Earth right now, the chaos that we're experiencing, which is breaking up crystallization, such as Pluto and Uranus, bringing us into the higher consciousness of Neptune, which is brotherly love.
Now, does the planet Pluto have anything to do with the ray, the eighth ray of Pluto?
Yes, this is the door opening to the higher chakras and higher frequencies.
Now, all of this stuff is so tied in. I mean, it makes people feel like, well, how am I missing all of this?
Well, it's really important. It's important. Now, this is the left side of the brain, my left side of the brain talking. It's important for me to understand this, to have it fit in. Although I did not consciously know this when I started. I had nothing to start with except the angels to channel through me. And that's how my information came through.
All right, so now these rays are the 7 common rays, but you talk about the 5 secret rays.
Right. They are all.
This is not a secret anymore.
No. They're all having to do with the etheric and our spiritual bodies. In fact, the 12th ray is the eternal sustaining atom, which is in the Christ self, which is just above us, an arm's length.
So we're talking about 5 and 7. So we have 12 rays.
Right. And most people are just working on the 7 and need to. I mean, we must not, let that think. We must not think that we don't need to work on those.
Let's talk then a little bit about the secret rays, just if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I would like to mention Pluto because Pluto has presented herself to me as a being who is feminine.
Okay.
Of course, we all have the feminine aspects of ourselves. She could present herself as masculine, but she hasn't. Actually, the mother of the entity who represents our planet Earth represents herself in the feminine, too. So, Pluto, I didn't know I was going to be doing this, but on a trip to England and different places in Europe, I acted as a channel for the Pluto energy. And during a very, someone might have, looking at my chart, might have said, oh, this could be a problem here because of this conjunction you have with Pluto. It wasn't. It was really a wonderful experience. And Pluto is like the mother, the one who says, you haven't washed these clothes clean. Take your time and wash them thoroughly. Pluto doesn't come in like Uranus and have sudden changes, like in a 1 second type of change.
Like a corporation where the heads roll.
Right, like Uranus. This is slow and sure. And what we see happening here now, like people have said, well, when are we going to see these changes? We're seeing the changes. This is a combination of Uranus and Plutonian activity of these energies throughout our planet, breaking up the old crystallizations so we can have the new.
Now, this book that you have, and I do want to talk about it a little bit, you have pictures of I don't know, how did you get these pictures? It's a picture of Hierarch Lady Pluto.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful picture. Now, all the pictures in the book, other than Lady Pluto, were painted by a clairvoyant artist. And I would ask her if she would paint this picture of
So clairvoyant, meaning she can actually see them, and they present themselves to her as they would like us to see them.
Right. She said,
because they can change their form.
Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, Orion did.
Okay.
I was really shocked when she sent me the painting of Orion. It's not like I see him at all. But the others were. And she would say, well, I will send you the painting when they tell me it's time for you to receive it. And maybe a few weeks would go by, it might be a few months, and she would call me and say, there's a painting on the way. Now, the last one, Lady Pluto, was painted by, and that I know we're running out of time, so I won't go into that.
Not. But we're on a different schedule today.
That was painted by a local artist.
I mean, we're going to eventually run out of time.
Carmel Denton.
And which one are we talking about?
That's Lady Pluto.
Lady Pluto. So Carmel did this one.
Mm-hmm. Just about 2 years ago.
But each group, you have, let's see, we've got the 12 rays are represented in your book.
Mm-hmm.
Each page, or each group of pages is denoted by the color. So, for example, I'm looking at ray 1, which is blue.
Yes.
So it's blue paper.
And that's the will of God, primarily.
And we have Master El Moria.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a number of different decrees that you have written that people can...
Relating to the different attributes of that sign and energy.
Is there one that you might like to have read here? Or it doesn't have to be blue. I mean,
no, but there is one. I think I always like the last one I've written. I think I put it on that one.
God Presence?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could read that to people and then explain perhaps how this is all tied into your meditation groups.
Well, we usually, it depends upon the energy. Actually, we should be able to, we are advanced enough at this point to be able, if everyone would do their homework every day and do their basics from, say, the first ray up or the first chakra up,
so
we could just start with the heart. That's where we should be starting with, a heart and working up at this point.
But a person could literally start at the beginning of this book, pick out one blue page, one pink page, one each
start
page,
with the white, which is the base of the spine.
Okay, and do each little thing, clear their chakra, etc.
Right.
And if they did this little thing, how long do you think it would take? 20 minutes?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it would be like an incredible clearing that they could do every day for themselves.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then take a few minutes to meditate.
Here, let's read this thing because people are still waiting for you to...
Beloved Creator, who gave us this planet and the stars above, fill us with the power to create with love. Guide us each moment with your thought divine, that our will be yours throughout time. We arise each day and salute the sun, meeting our challenges until day is done. A labor of love is no labor at all. With strength from each labor, we stand ever so tall. Holding our flames of power steady, we can say, Lord, to our hearts come, all is ready. In your presence we are thus fulfilled, expanding your life, your way, and your will.
All right, so now there are probably, 8 or 9 or sometimes 16 of these
yes.
per...
Mm-hmm.
And of course there's an order. Now the order is what? White?
White for the first chakra.
Does that explain?
Violet. Everybody, even if they don't have a book on the rays or what, they can be a great service to themselves and all mankind if they'll work with the violet. Because this is a combination of the will of God and the love of God, really. And it is associated with the second chakra, which is where the emotional body is attached. And we really need to keep clearing that out. In fact, I can recall one day many years ago, I was disturbed with someone. I was standing at the sink doing the dishes, and I had a negative thought. And immediately I saw a big hand go in front of me with a huge violet eraser and erased. I saw my thought printed out, and then I saw this big violet eraser go and erase it. But that was to show me that I should pass this on, too. And that we can erase. We don't need to. Another thing that this does is that it keeps us from staying in touch with our higher self, because we create a hum of these thought patterns around our crown chakra, and they really need to be cleared. In fact, if they're not, a person will then manifest a headache, because they don't realize it's from this vibratory hum of not being able to still your thoughts.
Real quickly, we talked about the blood changing the higher frequencies. Do you want to talk a little bit about that quickly?
Yes, there's so many things happening.
We're running out of time. Now we are running out of time.
It's so important to work in this way and say, if you are going to be program yourself with these different energies. Make your own statements for what you need. It's not a good idea to have a therapy where you're turning your will over to someone else. Make your own tapes, in other words, and this is the best way to do it. You could include yourself in this. You could make a subliminal tape of your own. But we are in the process of having the opportunity to have a higher frequency, more light into our bloodstreams. And this is the Christ light that is more available to us now. And as we allow someone else to take over with what we're doing in our work and in our lives, the red cells become nucleated. In other words, an energy of will from another person is making an impression on the cells of your blood. And so you're giving up a portion of your will every time you allow this to happen. So
when you sit and watch television passively and let people tell you what to think,
oh, that's right.
It's affecting your physiology.
Oh, definitely. And I would advocate that everyone go out and buy a copy of a book called Mary's Message to the World by Kirkwood.
We have to stop because we're running out of time. I hope we can do another show where we can get more into detail and some of the other things.
Well, I like to help people who are interested, giving them different ways of getting in alignment with their higher self, because that's what this whole thing is about, to clear the channel.
Reverend Elizabeth Anilda, do you have something you might like to say as your last few words to everyone?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on your show, Bruce. It's an opportunity to get a message out. People are looking for them all the time, and actually listening to so many things, it's a very confusing time for most people. So if they have a focus of knowing a way they can do something for themselves, it's very meaningful. I think it's very important. So thank you.
All right, and thank you, Reverend Elizabeth Anilda. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Timeless Voyager Radio. This is Bruce Stephen Holmes.
Warm and tender, so